So, Sean, you mentioned a week ago that one area you were going to take a deep dive during the bye was the offensive run game. If in fact that was the case, um, can you just explain how you went about that?
Yeah, we did, and I would say overall, Vic, just we looked in a lot of corners of what we were doing in terms of doing a deep dive, as you mentioned. Did a lot of good research during the early part of last week on our football team, and one of the areas that we covered was the run game. Naturally, we looked at the pass game too, on the offensive side of the ball, but naturally the run game as well. And had a good conversation, best I can tell you, between Brian, myself, Bobby, and feel like we've got a good plan going forward.
And were there? There's only so much. You only have so many days, so many hours. Were there other places that got the deep drive treatment? If so, what were they?
Yeah, I think just being responsible about it, we looked at everything: run, pass, defensively the same thing: run, pass, third down, red zone. You look at everything, special teams included. So certainly, when things weren't up to our standard, we had to take a little bit longer in some of those areas, naturally, and that's to be expected.
Last thing you mentioned, Mitch Morse was not benched for the Arizona game. Does that mean he will start against the Chargers this week?
We'll see. He's in the mix. We feel good about a number of the guys up front. We're getting healthier now, finally. It's been a while since we've had a consistent lineup, so we've got some guys and some options available to us, Mitch being one of them.
Thank you, Sean.
Sure.
Hey, Sean, John Scott here. I asked you about this before the bye week, so I wanted to follow up with how things were altered for you with protocols and not being able to leave. Just how much of a break did this past week actually be for you? How much of a break was it for you?
For me personally?
And the team, but yeah.
The team. Yeah, it was, it was good. I mean, it's a late bye, later than I'm used to. I think my latest bye since I've been in the league. So it was a long push to get us to last week. And then, we put in quite a bit of work in the early portion of the week, and then we got away as much as you can get away with having to test every day, as I know I think some of you guys are doing as well. So, just good to push back a little bit, take a deep breath, refresh, reset, and yet have a good feel for our plan going forward as well.
And how does it compare to a traditional bye week in years past, with maybe doing so much work in the early portion? Was it about the same? Is that your normal routine, or do you usually just leave for the entire week?
Well, it was very similar for the coaches. Usually we get about 3 or 4 days off. We took about the same this time, albeit we had to come in and test. And I know a couple of coaches were in here over the weekend, just doing some work on their own. So the players, I would say probably the biggest difference for the players is they were not allowed to leave town, which some of them do from time to time during the bye week. So maybe a little bit different for them than it was for the coaches.
And they were I saw, at least through Instagram and other social media, they were in the building. That's not common, right?
Yeah, I mean, we had a number of guys in the building getting treatment, being proactive with that, taking appropriate measures to get a workout in, get some running in, just kind of being around. That's the great part about our guys, is they like being around, and I think that's a good thing. And guys just hanging out a little bit in the building where they can remain socially distant. I think that's all healthy as well.
Thanks, Sean.
Sure.
Hey, Coach. Anthony Lynn took over as the head coach of the Chargers in 2016. What have you seen, or what stood out to you just about the way that he's been able to build his team in the last few years?
Yeah, I think he's done a real nice job. A lot of respect for Coach Lynn and what he's put together out there. They've got a very talented football team with a good young quarterback. And they've been in a lot of close games this season. So, we've got a lot of respect for Coach Lynn and his program.
And just probably being able to get a little bit of a head start into looking at Chargers film this week. What stands out about Justin Herbert? That team, even though their record isn't the best, it seems like they're a lot better than their record says.
Right, Maddie. They've, like I mentioned, been in a lot of close games, one-score games that could have gone either way. So, as you know, records don't matter really in the NFL, and they don't matter early in the year, and they don't matter later in the year. As I talk to the team constantly every week about that, we had a chance to watch some of the games on TV yesterday, just like most of our fans do, and it's a reminder every week that these games in the NFL usually come down to the fourth quarter and one possession game or one play game.
Thanks, Coach.
Sure.
Hi, Sean. It's funny you just said that because I was going to say you probably don't sit in front of Red Zone Channel all day on Sunday when you're off, but apparently you were watching some games yesterday. So with that in mind, when you see some of the results from yesterday, specifically how Miami did not win out there, given your situation, is that something to be pleased about, as a coach? I mean, I know you think they're all tough games, but, to have them lose that game, that helps you.
Well, it does. It does help us. I can tell you I don't stay glued to the television, looking for help and things. We've got to control what we can control. But it is nice to get some help when we're not playing in particular, and where we can take a minute to see what's going on around the league and in the division in particular. So, that's the parity. That's why the NFL is the game that it is, and it's the best game, the best sport going is because of the parity in the NFL, where anybody's team can win each and every week, and records don't matter. What you've done before that particular game that weekend doesn't matter either. So it's whoever plays the best that weekend, and so that's why the NFL is such a good ticket anymore, just in terms of the fan support and why people tune into it.
And if I could circle back on the Mitch Morse issue, because I think last week I'm not going to speak for everybody here, but a lot of us were confused by the whole thing. He was active, didn't play. If there was a problem with the concussion, he wouldn't have been active. He wouldn't even have traveled. Where has it gone off the rails with Mitch? He looked like he was probably one of your best offensive linemen pre-concussion. So what are we not seeing maybe as media and fans given his performance?
Yeah, nothing. I just think we had some momentum coming off of the two games, the two wins we had there back to back when Mitch was out, and that doesn't say anything in particular about Mitch. Just more so we had some momentum going and some continuity for a small window of time, and so we just felt like that was the right lineup for that week. And like I said, he's in the mix this week, as are some others, and we'll see how the week flows.
Okay, thanks, Sean.
Sure.
Hey, Sean, on Justin Herbert a little bit further, I mean, you look at some of the stats and they're eye-popping. I mean, the number 3 passing offense, overall offense in the league behind a rookie quarterback. I mean, what does he do well, and what challenges does he present for your defense on Sunday?
Yeah, he does a lot well. When you turn the film on, he's unlike most young quarterbacks that get confused and see ghosts once in a while. He sees none of that. He's very accurate. He's very poised, tough in the pocket. He's got a good cast around him in terms of the running game and the weapons he has around him at tight end and wide receiver as well. And he does a good job of checking the ball down also when the coverage drops deep. So I think he's off to a real fine start.
Thanks, Sean.
Hey, Coach. Just wanted to check in coming off the bye, just with respect to some of your injured players. And I believe you still had Josh on the COVID list. Do you have any updates there?
Yeah, Josh remains on the COVID list, still in the protocol. Dean, Tyler, and Levi are all back. And then Tommy Sweeney was aiming to be back at practice this week. But after being tested by the cardiologist, which is per NFL protocol, he's going to be out for the remainder of the season at this point because of the cardiologist discovered that he is suffering from myocarditis, I believe, if I got that name right. So he'll be out the remainder of the season, unfortunately. But we're looking forward to getting back in the off season here.
Just real quick, that's known as a condition from COVID, right? Is that
Correct.
where it stems from?
Correct. Yes. As far as we know, I'm not a doctor, Chris, but as far as I know,
Right.
yeah, as far as I know, it's connected to the COVID situation.
And so do we know like where it goes from here, or have the doctors given you any guidance on that, I guess is what I'm
No, you know as much as I know at this point. All I know is that he's I saw him today. He looks in good spirits. It's unfortunate. He's had a rough year with the injury, the early part of the year, and then now with the COVID, and then the residual piece of the COVID, it appears, from my position. So it's unfortunate, but we know, he's a good football player, and we know he's a guy that we believe in, and can't wait to get him back on the field when we can here.
Thanks, Coach.
Sure.
Coach Mookie Harkins, 104 Sports 1080. How you doing today?
Good, Mookie. How are you?
Good, man. How did you enjoy your bye?
It was great. Yeah, got some good work in, and then I was able to get a little bit of rest also.
Right, absolutely. Diving right into, you have the Los Angeles Chargers here, tall quarterback, tall receivers. How much does this Chargers offense remind you of your own offense?
Yeah, I mean, we've got, weapons as well. They've got weapons. They've got a big quarterback. We've got a big quarterback. Their receivers are long. They've got long, as you mentioned, tall receivers that play at a high level. They play above the rim. They play and they catch contested balls. So, there's going to be a lot of skill on the field come Sunday.
Absolutely. And Coach, you're in the same place where you were last year at 7-3. What are some of the things that you learned from being 7-3 last year that would help you, being 7-3 this year?
Well, I guess probably the only thing really is experience. Experience being in this position, but at the end of the day, we're just trying to win every week, go 1-0, and we've got a big challenge in front of us this weekend.
Absolutely, Coach. Welcome back.
Thanks.
Thanks, Coach. You're good to go.